Come on in. My name is Bill Tobin, and this is your restaurant success tip of the day. Today's tip, I want to talk about outsourcing and saving money by outsourcing and saving more money than you already are by increasing your outsourcing. And you might say, Bill, I'm not outsourcing. How can I increase my outsourcing? And I'm saying that you probably are outsourcing and you don't even know it, or you are outsourcing and you just know it by a different name. And so first, let's talk about what outsourcing is. Outsourcing is the process of using third-party service providers to handle certain business functions. By another name, you might call it contracting out or just using your vendors. A good example that we use at Tiki's is I outsource my bookkeeping. I pay somebody who does bookkeeping for several restaurants, and so she gets my numbers every night, does our daily balancing, knows how much money's in the bank, pays my vendors, and handles all the bookkeeping for Tiki's and reports back to me. We talk almost on a daily basis, but it's wonderful because she specializes in bookkeeping and I don't have to worry about having a specific bookkeeper in the restaurant working only for me and maybe not being a specialist or being good at it. My bookkeeper actually, because of working for several restaurants, she might see patterns or best practices that she can share with all of her clients. So that's a wonderful piece of that. But you might outsource your maintenance of your equipment. Right now, we service most of our own equipment in-house, but we do have people come and repair things. So that is, you might call it contracting, or you might actually call it a vendor, but it's not. If you're not doing it yourself, then that means you're outsourcing it to somebody else. You might have for me, I have a virtual assistant that does lots of paperwork and stuff that's more related outside of the restaurant, but still she does a lot of my organizational stuff that is involved in the restaurant. Even when we talk about PPP and restaurant revitalization fund, she helps me get prepared for stuff like that. And something that's unusual for us, we actually outsource all of our HR. So we, our HR or human resources, you could do employee leasing, or in Hawaii, we use a PEO or primary employer organization. The PEO does all the initial paperwork for our staff, like the I-9s, the withholding, getting set up for payroll, getting set up for health insurance, which is a requirement in the state of Hawaii, and does all of our benefits administration. They also get involved for all of our HR, what I like to say, our HR crisis. They fight all of the unemployment claims that are not legitimate. If there's any harassment investigations, they get involved. If a staff member has a question about their benefits, we direct them to the PEO to answer those questions. We still manage the staff, we still do the write-ups, we still do the terminations, we still do the hiring and interviews, but the PEO helps us with the administration of all that. And they keep up with all the changes in the law to make sure that we're doing things correctly. Other things that people can do to outsource and not have specialists in their restaurant is stuff like inventory. BevTech was a company that we used for years. Lots of big retailers have contractors to come in and do inventory in their stores all the time. And some restaurants use outside contractors to do inventory. You might also use an outside company for marketing, public relations, your social media, graphic arts, and also even in some of your food prep and for instance, you're not cleaning chickens, you're not defeathering chickens and butchering them. At least most restaurants don't. Most people don't butcher their own beef or their own pork. We buy it already pre-cut, and so those vendors are taking care of that for us. But those food vendors are also, we're not growing the vegetables, but there are some produce vendors that will actually cut up the lettuce for you, or cut the corn off the cob for you, even if it's fresh corn, or slice up the bell peppers, lots of vendors will do those things for you, especially if you're short-handed like a lot of us are. And finally, we also have cleaners that come at the end of the night to clean up our restaurant. And like my vendor, Fred, who does this for us, he has a crew, and he likes to say he's putting the icing on the cake. We do the cleaning, but then he comes and does the deep cleaning every night to make sure our restaurant is clean every day, clean and sanitary. So lots of ideas for outsourcing. The best thing about outsourcing that I can say is that when you outsource a function in your restaurant, you usually outsource it to somebody who is a specialist in what they're doing, like a bookkeeper. There's somebody who's going to do it better than you can do it. Might cost a little bit more, but it's going to be a lot more efficient than me spending 5 hours every weekend trying to balance my books for the week. And having somebody that knows how to do that and works on it every day is going to be much more efficient. That's the same with your equipment maintenance. That's the same with HR. That's the same with inventory and graphic arts. If you outsource things, it might seem like it's going to be more expensive, but it's actually much more efficient, and you will save money because less time is spent on it. So your task for today: look at the different functions in your restaurant that you can outsource so that you can save on labor in the long run. Now go make it happen. Do you have a comment or a tip for restaurant leaders? Text me at 808-201-0550 or find me at restaurantleadership365.com. This is Bill Tobin. Thanks for coming in. See you tomorrow.